Hello everyone, Brian Pickle here, and welcome back to episode 16 of Sunset Mirage, my mostly vanilla City Skylines build. Now, when I say mostly vanilla, I really just mean that I have a few quality of life mods that make detailing a bit easier, and then some camera stuff for my recording purposes. But anyway, if you're new to the channel, welcome in, and if you're returning, welcome back. I'm super happy to have you all here. So as usual, just a quick recap of what we did last episode. We built this lovely service park to address a complete lack of services on this side of the map. So we put in a hospital as well as the crematorium. Those were the major two assets that I wanted to include in this area and sort of give a bit of importance to. And then I just threw in basically all the other services as well, including elementary school, high school, police, and fire. And then after I put in all those services, I just filled out the rest of this area with some admin sort of buildings. And then I think I forgot to mention it, but I did put in this metro line during the detailing of last episode. And so this now connects to the Breslin Center, back at our trade school. So if we go over here back to our university center area, we had this parallel line in here. Now, one of them just connects in like the main loop that we've set up throughout the city, just going through like Pepinillo, our old town, and everything like that. And then this other line now goes from the Breslin Center here all the way back to our luxury neighborhood and this service complex that we built in last episode. I did also finally name this neighborhood. I named it La Gorgocha, this is not a real word in Spanish. This is just some dumb shit that I made up. But if you are familiar with the term fupa, you might be able to figure this out, and if you speak a little bit of Spanish. It's not a real Spanish word, but it is a combination of two Spanish words. So, anywho, just my dumb sense of humor. Moving on. Now again, just really quickly before we get into today's build, I do want to go over something that I did off of camera. During the last episode, we actually hit level 4 for our university, which we've been waiting for quite a long time. It was very early on that we did the university build, and I was a little bit worried that there was a time constraint, and that if I didn't place the level 4 buildings that unlocked, I wouldn't be able to go and place them again. I'm not sure if that's how it works or not. I have access to them now, so even though we've dropped back down to level 3, so I'm not sure. But I was really worried that I wasn't going to be able to do it, so I went through off camera and placed the new level 4 buildings that we unlocked, which was the auditorium, the bookstore, and the laboratories. So I've gone and placed all of those buildings and then just filled out the rest of the area with a little bit of residential, just to sort of fill this area in and clean up a little bit of that empty space that we had going on here that just didn't really look right. But now, it's all filled out, and it looks so much better, it looks a lot more complete, and I think we'll probably just leave it at a level 4. I don't think we'll continue on with this one. If we do more university stuff in the future, it will be either the art school or the actual university. And then so heading back over here to La Gorgocha. Now, since the very beginning of the series, pretty much, I've known that I wanted to make this area a sort of luxury waterfront, which is what we've got going so far. I think we've definitely achieved that with the residential stuff going on in here, with the mid-century modern houses, and we definitely have the room to continue expanding and just adding houses as we need them. So what I want to do next is get started on a sort of waterfront leisure area and kind of make a nice marina. So to start, we're just going to clear out these ferries, get rid of this area here because it's actually just going to get in the way of what I want to do today, to have all these ferry lines just kind of messing about. So I'm going to trim all those back and start over from scratch. Now, I knew again that I wanted this to be a sort of marina area, and I was struggling for a while to figure out exactly how I wanted that to look and how to do it. I toyed around off camera with a couple different ideas with like the marina assets that come from the tourism specialization or the tourism parks area. And I had tried doing something with, like I said, the marina asset and the airport aprons. Now, if you've been to a marina somewhere in person in real life, generally what you see is you've got somewhere where you can dock your boats, and you have somewhere where you can do the drop-off. So where you back your car in your trailer with your boat or jet skis or whatever it is that you have. And that's what I was trying to go for with the airport apron, but it just didn't really work how I wanted it to. The airport apron was way too big in comparison to the marina asset, and it just didn't look right at all, basically. So I sort of just avoided it. Like, this was actually the first build I tried to do in this area before we did the transit hub, before the neighborhood with the keys, and before our service complex that we built last episode. But like I said, I just couldn't get it to work the way that I wanted to. I couldn't make my vision a reality. I couldn't figure out how to do it just right. And then Imperator came through with a beautiful build in his city, Los Angeles, which I will go ahead and link just in the top corner here to the episode where I saw this idea finally come to fruition. I saw the episode and I was like, oh my god, this is exactly what I have been looking for. So props to Imperator for that build in Los Angeles, because it just props to him in general. I love his vanilla tricks and tips. He always knows how to like do such creative builds within vanilla, and he's just great. So shout out to him for this, because I wouldn't have been able to figure this out if it weren't for him. So he made a marina in that episode, and I don't know why this never occurred to me, but he just used the marina asset like a bunch of times. And it achieved the exact kind of look of what you see in real life of a marina with just like dozens or hundreds of boats. We have some pretty big marinas here in San Diego. Obviously, lots of rich people with their fancy, fancy boats. And I actually went, my brother-in-law got us all a little boat trip to go whale watching once. And we got to go through the marina and see all the boats, and it was super cool. But yeah, this was exactly the sort of look that I was going for, with just the marina assets lined up one after the other. So again, shout out to Imperator for that. So to get the area started, what I first did was just had to flatten out a good chunk of the area. I definitely did not flatten out nearly as much as I needed to kind of make it complete. But I fix it towards the end. And obviously you can see that I'm struggling quite a bit with these keys. I am definitely no expert at any part of the game, let alone especially keys. I don't know why I keep insisting that they look so good and I need to use them, because I'm not very good at them and it takes me forever to get them done. But essentially what I was trying to go for was that look that Imperator had done in his build. So I'm creating out a couple areas here where the marinas will sit. And so I've got my ferry stop in, and these keys they're from the content creator pack. I was gonna do, I knew I didn't want them to be aggressively fancy, not like the ones that we used in the old town back on the other side of the map. But I did want them to look a little bit better than just the vanilla keys. So I did the ones that come from the content creator pack that are fenceless. I think they are still walkable, but my intent here was not for people to be walking on them. If they can, that's fine. If they do, that's fine. I'm not concerned that they're going to do it, but my goal was not like, oh, I need a walkable space for the people to go. So that's what I'm doing here. And I put in the ferry station because I will absolutely forget to do it at the end. So I wanted to make sure I got that in first, because I am notorious for forgetting to put in my transit methods once I finish the build. But again, I'm struggling super hard at this point to figure out just the finickiness of the keys sometimes. And I go back through and do it several times. But because I wanted them to be like at 90-degree angles as best as possible, and I wanted to fit as many marinas in there as I could. And I was struggling, yes, just quite a bit with getting the angles correctly and getting them to line up right. I think this is another situation where mods would have been like super, super helpful. But again, this is supposed to be more of a vanilla build. Yeah, see, here I go back again trying to get those angles right. One of the marinas was not connected to the road network, and it was just quite the headache. That's actually also pretty much 100% of the reason why I decided to do a speed build voiceover kind of thing this time around, was just because it was taking me this was some big brain work right here. I could not, for the life of me, try to do this and talk at the same time. It was just, there was so much periods of silence because I could not think and talk at the same time. It was just a mess. So I was like, you know what? I'll just do a voiceover. It's fine. So we did that. And since the beginning as well, I knew that I wanted to have the driving range put in here. I just felt like, I don't know, golfing is such like a rich person sport. I feel like, I mean, anybody can play golf, but it is a really expensive hobby. Like going to golf courses is expensive. Being a part of a club is expensive. Getting clubs is expensive. So I thought it was a very appropriate sport to have in this area. And I knew that I wanted to have it in one of these. I wanted to have that asset placed in one of these peninsulas, I guess. I guess we'll just call them little peninsulas, where I have the roads come out, where the marinas go. And I thought it would look really cool. I was originally going to make it just big enough for the asset itself, but I figured I would throw in like some leisure commercial around it. So I left a little bit of space on the side, and I was very careful to make sure that I didn't put any of the marinas or any other of the tourism like boat assets in front of it. I mean, granted, it does have its like high fences to stop the balls from going out and whatnot, but I just thought it looked a little bit silly if I were to have like, you know, a boat marina or a jet ski rental sitting right in front of it where realistically the balls would be going in that direction. Yeah. So I skipped all that. I wanted to make sure I left that area blank. And I did go through and make all of the roads in here except for the frickin' road by the ferry station because it can't change. I made them all back to that content creator road so that I could have that cute little brick lined area. And as you can see, I was clearly struggling with the tool that is supposed to make like zoning on one side of the road and not the other. It was showing where the zoning was supposed to be, but it wouldn't actually do it that way. It was backwards. It would be doing it the opposite direction. I don't know if this is like, I don't know if I'm doing this wrong or what the deal is, but I feel like this is, maybe it's a bug or something, or just it doesn't function properly. That's for damn sure. Like, as you can see, clearly, I keep trying to zone one side, and it says that the zoning should be on that side, and then it takes it off that side, and it was getting really, really frustrating. And then, of course, I had to go in and check out our hotel assets. But you will be surprised to learn that I didn't actually put any in this area. I left it without them. I did throw in a nice little plaza to sort of encompass the ferry stop. I just like to do that. It makes things a little bit nicer, and it prevents me from just endlessly zoning commercial. I'm sure you've noticed throughout the series, if you've been following along, that I do tend to zone quite a lot, and I don't need to always. Like, I zoned a ton here still, even, but it is supposed to be a commercial zone here, so that's not really an issue. But I feel like I do get sort of caught up in zoning just too much stuff. And then it just doesn't look right, and the buildings get really repetitive like they were doing there, which I did, take care of. I didn't want super repetitive buildings, and I know that can happen, especially with the specialized industries or districts, just because there's only, a limited number of assets in that pool. But it did come out pretty well in the end. But yes, one of the things that I think this is a common problem that people encounter when they're pretty new to the game, which I am. I only have about 200 hours in the game. I only got it back in like mid-2022, I think. I'm not even sure. But where you just endlessly zone. And so I'm trying to move away from that. So anyway, I wanted to put in that plaza, and then I wanted to do a little bit of detailing, because this is also a thing where I tend to forget about it. And then I just try to fit it in at the end, and it kind of looks a little bit awkward. So I wanted to make it more cohesive and look like it was supposed to be part of the build in this way. So I went through and lined in between the quay and the road with some beautiful tall palm trees, which I think really complemented the area. And then in this little spot, I always also forget about fences, so I wanted to put those fences in there and kind of make like a little rock garden out of that area, serving as a little bit of a tree line, like a tree buffer between those couple houses there and this leisure area, because the leisure stuff gets really, really loud. It is horrible for noise pollution, so I did have to be careful about that. And you'll see later, I just throw in like a complete shit ton of trees, which looks a little bit silly, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not 100% pleased with how that comes out later, but it is what it is. And then along here, again, I try to make sure that I don't put things in front of the golf course, or the driving range. But I go in and throw in some like fishing pier, the restaurant pier, the jet ski rentals, basically everything from the tourism stuff. The beach volleyball court and the skate park. Now, the beach volleyball court, I will just say, is actually really weird to me that it's full of concrete. Like, I feel like it could have easily just been a beach asset underneath so that you could place it on the beach and it doesn't plop a weird bit of concrete right into the middle of your build. But I digress. I'm sure there's mods that can even get rid of the concrete underneath it. And then, so once I finished kind of putting all the assets in that I wanted to do, obviously the residential demand was starting to skyrocket a little bit because I had put in so much commercial. So I started just filling in more of the spaces in that road frame that I had put together many, many episodes ago now. Putting in my paths and just sort of filling up that area with more houses. I probably got a little bit lazier with this side of things than I did with the keylined area. That was part of the, its own special episode. But it still looks nice at the end. And then, yeah, here's the part where I just spammed trees because I was like, I don't want to get rid of more houses. I just want them to not abandon due to noise pollution. And so far I have not gotten any complaints, people complaining about that yet, so we'll see. I know that low residential is particularly bothered by the noise pollution, and obviously these houses are low density. But as of the recording and finishing of this video, they haven't complained once about it, so I'm pretty pleased with that. Then I just go through and start connecting more areas to my transit hub, which again, I really think that the transit hub is probably in the wrong spot. It should have been somewhere in the middle here. But again, this is all me just learning a little bit more about the game. This is the first very large, detailed, slowly built city that I've ever done, so it is going to be a little bit flawed, to say the least. But I still really... So, yeah, I was getting really confused with all the different lines, so I finally went through and named them and colored them and all that stuff, because I tend to just kind of throw them in at the end of the episode while I'm doing the detailing, usually as a way to alleviate traffic, and then I forget all about them. So I probably will at some point also go back through the entire city and sort of optimize my lines, since there's no way that they're the most efficient that they could be. But then I go through and finish off the ferry line now that everything is in its final configuration. I create a sort of loop going from the transit hub to the lakefront build, and then the national park here that I'm creating, and then back in the other direction. And then I have it from the marina to the national park. And then I just go through and finish off with a little bit more of my usual sort of detailing that I've been doing with the other residential stuff in this area. Creating these little, I guess, rock walls, essentially, to cover up a little bit of where that terrain jank comes in from the houses growing in. And then I go through and just throw a little bit of commercial, again, back up on the main street. I thought of having some houses along the main street, but I decided against it in the end because I figured I didn't really want people to be stopping that much on that road. It's already going to be enough with the commercial up there with, trucks coming and going and customers coming and going. Threw in a little park as well to make people a little bit more happy on the other side. Although there is, of course, plenty of activities and fun things to do in this area. It definitely wasn't necessary, but I think it helped just fill out the area as well and give it a little bit of something else, a little bit smaller. And then I just go through and keep filling in with some more houses. In here, I was kind of trying to get more space for the houses, and it just wasn't really going that well for me. Again, that tool with the zoning, it was just giving me a hard time. But it ended up looking fine in the end. I lined the whole street with some more commercial zones. But yeah, that is all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this method of recording. I hope you enjoyed the build. I really like how the waterfront marina turned out. Thank you again to Imperator for the idea. I would never have been able to figure it out if I hadn't seen that, and I think the effect is really, really great. So, thanks to Imperator again for that one. MVP right there. But yeah, so as usual, thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed the build, which I hope you did, please feel free to leave a like below, leave a comment, let me hear your thoughts, any suggestions, comments, all of it. Would love to hear it. And if you have enjoyed the build and you would like to keep up with the series, feel free to subscribe to my channel as well. But otherwise, I will leave you with some lovely cinematics of the city to enjoy, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for watching.